Okay, let's take a look at this week 16 games in the NFL. Just real quick looks anyway. And we're on covers.com. And Covers is a very good web page. Obviously, they've missed one injury 1 week, but other than that, really, really good. Houston and Indianapolis, I'm big on the Houston Texans. Just on the first fact that Indianapolis won. Yeah, Indianapolis won. So two things tend to happen. One, they come in they have a letdown, and they lose. But two, the Vegas spread is lower than it should be, and it's only 5.5 here, as you can see. These are the spreads across the boards, 5.5 points. Expert picks. Now, what this means is guys that have really good records at either Houston or Indianapolis games, that's what they're picking. So the experts right now are saying Houston. I don't put too much into that. We got some stats in here. Let's take a look at some other things for this game. The starters for this game. They've been doing it without the wide receivers because Kevin Walter, Jacoby Jones, yeah, they didn't do too great here. And Taylor Yates, you know what, it's kind of difficult. I guess it's all because of Arian Foster and Ben Tate within that team. But if we look at some of these stats in here, the defensive team for the Indianapolis Colts are allowing 138 rushing yards per game, but only 4.1 yards per rush, which means teams are running it over and over again. You'd really have to expect the same thing to occur again with Arian Foster to just continue running the ball, basically. As far as points are concerned, the average score of a Houston game is 24-16, so they win by about 7 points on average. And their average totals are about 41. And we got about a 43-point average total for the Colts, and they average losing by 13 points. So we have a team that loses by 13, and they're only underdogs by 5.5 points. I mean, really? Okay, whatever. Let's now go back to the matchups, look at some other games for this week. We got Oakland and Kansas City, and this is a big game for the Oakland Raiders because they came off a loss to the Detroit Lions, but the Broncos lost big for them too as well. The spread is 1 point for the home team, so it's pretty much a pick-em. And we have Kansas City coming off a big win. What does that use? When a bad team, and Kansas City's not a good team, when a bad team beats the best team in the league, and the Green Bay Packers, what do you think the next week's just going to bring? This is a team that averages a loss of about 8 points against a team that loses by about 5 points. So right then and there, the look is towards the Oakland Raiders, just right there, coming off of a loss. Now on the road this year, Oakland's 4-3, and they're 3-4 at home. So it looks like home field advantage doesn't mean too much for the Oakland Raiders, and for Kansas City, it's 3-4 across the board. So I don't know why you don't want to play the Oakland Raiders here in this type of matchup. If you look to some sort of stats down below, Kansas City's not passing the ball, but you really can't put too much into that because they now got Kyle Orton, who's a pretty decent passer. Oakland does allow 243 yards against the pass, and if Kansas City happens to, say, play bad, or Oakland really plays well, that just means that there's going to be garbage points for the Kansas City Chiefs throwing the ball near the end of the game. Oakland does do poor against the run. They've averaged 5.1 yards against the run. So what does that mean for the Kansas City Chiefs? Well, that means they're going to run the ball, but their running back, Dexter McCluster, we can click on this page. You can click on a name. Oh, he didn't even play this last week. He must have been injured. Let's click it down here. He's not on the injury list here. Well, maybe they want Thomas Jones as their guy. At this point, I don't really know. As far as other injuries, we got injuries to Darren McFadden, who's been out for quite some time. He's doubtful. And Jacoby Ford, questionable. Really, I don't think there's really too much into those injuries anyway. Let's continue on within the list. Tampa Bay and Carolina. This is really a toilet bowl game, to say the least. The spread is pretty big. Carolina underdogs of about 7.5 points in this matchup. I'm just going to go pat. Just leave this right now. I have no intrinsic reason to even consider those large points even worth taking right now. Giants and Jets. There really isn't much of a home field advantage for the Jets because all they have is the crowd to a degree because season ticket holders of the Jets will be at the game. They play at the exact same stadium though. And the Giants are 4-3 on the road, so maybe that's a disadvantage that because it's pretty much a home game, or they don't mind the crowd noise. But the bottom line is they're coming off a loss against Washington, so you don't really want to put too much into going against the Giants. But the Giants also suck in December. 4 expert picks are on the Giants. Again, that doesn't mean too much for me. Looking at some of the past games, you can see the Giants have now lost 5 of the last 6 games, losing to Washington, Green Bay, New Orleans, Philly, San Fran. And that's a pretty difficult schedule as well. The New York Jets have won 3 of the last 4 games, beating Buffalo, who's a weak team. They beat weak teams. That's no doubt about it. They lost to 2 amazingly strong teams, and I'm biased by saying that with Denver, but not biased with New England. They beat a weaker team in Buffalo. They beat a weak team in San Diego. Then Miami was fairly weak. So at this stage here, my emphasis is towards New York. Giants, that is. But New York is the easy team to cover this spread. If we look at any of these types of stats here, we have 2 teams that have not been able to run the ball too efficiently, but a lot of that's because Ahmad Bradshaw has been out, and Ahmad Bradshaw should be off this list in here, and he is because he's right back in the lineup. And Mark Sanchez is on the list as probable. He suffered an apparent neck injury in Week 15. I wouldn't leave too much into a neck injury on probable. That doesn't mean anything to me at this. Well, other than a grain of salt, that is. Let's go through the rest of them quickly because we're already moving in on 10 minutes. We got the St. Louis, this one's worth taking. Here's the deal. This game is Saturday at 1 o'clock. Pittsburgh played Monday night at 9 o'clock. Yeah, it was 9 because of the power outage. It's the old school Monday night game. The spread on this game, we got 17 points. Give me the points with the St. Louis Rams. Yeah, whether Ben Roethlisberger is healthy or not, the average loss for St. Louis is 12.5 to 13. But let's say they get a short week, to say the least. Yeah, now how's St. Louis been doing recently? Well, they lost to Cincinnati, and they gave them a tough battle. And they gave Arizona a tough battle, to say the least. They obviously beat New Orleans. Where's that match? Right here. And when we look at, and it's going to rain. No. But you look at the weather near the end of the week. I'll start looking at it Friday and this is the week where I'm like, huge if I can find a game with like 32 mile an hour winds. Maybe I can find a snowstorm. Maybe I can find 7 degrees Fahrenheit in Green Bay or something like that. That's the type of conditions that I'm looking for, but you don't look for them on Tuesday, though. With that being said, we got a St. Louis defense that's struggled against the run, and they're doing fairly well against the pass, only allowing 206 yards per game. Now the Pittsburgh Steelers, look at this. A.J. Feely got he missed the last game, but look at this injury list is a mile long. But here's the kicker too. There's a lot of these guys who are replaceable, and because someone else is just going to fill the void in. But the big thing here is you're going to see Ben Roethlisberger on this list. He's the toughest player maybe ever to play the game, and I have a lot of respect for Ben Roethlisberger. He's one of my favorite players. But again, the rest is just way too much. Now we're pretty much at 10 minutes. I want to really breeze through the rest of this now. We got Denver and Buffalo. The Buffalo Bills after Miami stink. That's the bottom line. And again, I'm going to be playing the same situation again. And Denver's just winning the games. Now the spread's 3 points for the Denver Broncos, so I don't like that. If it's 2.5, I love it. There's 2.5 right here. 5 dimes is 2.5. And I don't like it too much at 3.5, but I kind of do okay. But we'll see what the weather does and everything again after that. Minnesota, Washington, I'm just going to leave this game for now. Arizona, Cincinnati, what's the spread on this game? Because the spread should be Cincinnati by like 6 at most. It's 4, so I'm going to leave it at that. And we got Cleveland and Baltimore. What should the spread be there? Baltimore by about 9, maybe 10, 13. Is that too many points now? Cleveland does suck, but you can see that they stay within 3, 11. You know what? This is too many points just on my first look right now. And the expert picks say 7-0 Baltimore. We'll see if you're right or wrong. But this early on does look like too many points. A lot of those losses were when Peyton Hillis was out. We can click on his name, Peyton Hillis. How's he been doing lately? And last week he had 26 runs for 99 yards. We'll see. But I just think that's too many points. We can still got a few minutes here. We can finish this off with it. I do got to talk about the one game that I love. Okay, NFL matchups. We got Arizona and Cincinnati. Arizona's defense has been playing well, but Miami, New England. The spread here should be New England by about 10 with an over-under about 50. And we got 9.5 and 48.5, so I'm just going to leave it at that. San Diego, Detroit. In this situation here, the over-under should be about 54. And Detroit should be favored by about 5 or so. So they're favored by 2.5. I'm most likely going to be playing them at that level. I know San Diego plays so well at the end of the season. The over-under is 52. I'm probably going to be playing that over. It's in a dome. And what else do we got? We got San Francisco, Seattle, the game I love. Seattle. Now, I don't know what the spread is. I haven't looked at it. I'm guessing the spread will probably be San Francisco by about 2.5. And it probably should be Seattle by about 5 or 6. As weird as that sounds. Maybe they got San Francisco as bigger favorites than that. There was about 3. Play Seattle. Maybe let the public bet on San Francisco first. And just wait and get the better line. Because here's the deal. San Francisco played last night at what time? 9 o'clock. And now they're playing a Saturday game at 4. So when you talk normally about a short week, this is just making it a shorter week from what's already a short week on the Monday Night Football matchup. Also, they won. I like to fade Monday night teams that win. I haven't done it much the last 2-3 years, but I did that all the time at the end of the 90s and in the early 2000s. And it didn't do quite as well in the end, which is why I stopped it. But overall, I don't know why the losing teams, why you don't fade them. But anyway, let's take a look at this Seattle defense here. And I don't think Covers is going to have the stats on here. You look at the box scores, they're just basically getting interceptions through the yin-yang. Basically. Patrick Willis, if he's out, that would be amazing. And look at these injuries to Braylon Edwards and Ted Ginn Jr. Braylon Edwards, that's just really going to be hurting him and putting a lot of pressure on Michael Crabtree, who will be covered extremely well. Now, as far as the last 3 games, I wish I had last 4 on here anyway. The Seattle Seahawks have allowed 4.3 rushing yards and 5.5 per yards attempt passing, 153 yards. And then you got San Francisco averaging just 2.6 yards on the run. Now, let's just see who the 3 running backs were. Well, one was Pittsburgh. And we have Pittsburgh, Arizona, and St. Louis. Well, what do you expect with Arizona and St. Louis? Although you have Steven Jackson, I guess. But I'm going to be playing most likely the Seattle Seahawks in this contest. I was looking at that weeks ago even, just for the matter of that situation. Now, who were the 2 teams that played Thursday Night Football the week before? That was the Atlanta Falcons and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Oh, Atlanta's got a bye week for this matchup against the New Orleans Saints on Monday Night Football. That's big because they go from Thursday night to Monday. That's a bye week. So what's the spread in this matchup? New Orleans probably should be favored by 8 points, 7.5. I'll be disappointed if it's lower. Yeah, at 6.5, I'm a little bit disappointed. It's tough to go against New Orleans Saints right now. It is really, really, really difficult. I'll probably still pass it. And again, you got Jacksonville, who's got a little bit of a longer week against Tennessee, who's got a shorter week. And the Tennessee Titans, though, here's the situation. The Tennessee Titans did end up losing to the Indianapolis Colts, which is very much a detractor, to say the least. It's mainly going to be working on the weather, I guess. I'm going to end the video at that because we're pretty much 15 minutes. Take care.